Well, thank you all very much for taking the time to join us. It's a pleasure to be back at Stony Brook once again, this magnificent campus. So it's always a pleasure. Let me introduce the people who we have on the panel with me today, starting at my left. Not that any of them need an introduction. Our county executive from Nassau County, Ed Mangano. Let's give him a round of applause. Suffolk County Executive Stephen Balone. Pleasure to be with Stephen Balone. This is a pleasure for me. When I'm normally with both county executives, it's some kind of extreme weather occasion. Either it's a snowstorm or a rainstorm, or we're standing on the Long Island Expressway in the middle of stranded cars. So it's very nice to be with them in sub-freezing weather. And they look different when they're not all bundled up. I won't say better or worse, I'll just say different. Senator Flanigan, who is the leader of the state senate, as you know, and who has been a great partner in many, many aspects of government and many of the things we've done. But on the program we're going to outline today, his direct intervention and his team did a really great job in making it a reality, so I want to thank him. Senator John Flanigan. Assemblyman Steve Engelbrite, who has a great environmental record, always fighting for the environment and in many ways spotted issues before their time. Pleasure to be with him, Assemblyman Engelbrite. And Basil Sagos, who was our DEC commissioner. Pleasure to have him with us today. Now, we also have a host of our colleagues who are here. I will save the senator and the assemblyman the trouble, if I could just mention them, because this is really a bipartisan effort. It is a Long Island-wide effort, and as you'll see, this presentation talks about many of the issues that we've been working on for a long time. So I'll call out their names. I'll ask them to stand, and we'll do it in rapid order. Senator Ken LaValle, who is here at home with his Stony Brook hat. Senator Carl Marcellino. Assemblyman Joseph Saladino. Yes. Assemblywoman Michelle Schimmel. Assemblyman Michael Montesano. Assemblyman Andrew Rea. And we have Kyle Strober from the Long Island office of Senator Charles Schumer. From my team, we also have Dr. Howard Zucker, who's the Commissioner of the Department of Health, Doctor. And Sabrina T., who is the President and CEO of Environmental Facilities Corporation for the state of New York. Please stand, Sabrina. Okay, we are going to talk about the environment today, and specifically the environment on Long Island. There's a great Native American proverb, or a proverb that is attributed to the Native Americans, that I think really says it all. We don't inherit the land from our parents, we are borrowing it from our children. We are public stewards, and we are stewards of this earth, and we will pass it on, and hopefully we pass it on in better shape than it was given to us, right? That's our responsibility as parents and as citizens. And that's what today is all about. We've been very aggressive when it comes to protecting the environment. One of my daughters is doing an article for her school newspaper, and she wanted to interview me just to practice her interviewing skills. She found me incredibly boring, by the way, and she went, I think she interviewed the postman afterwards, but she said to me in the interview, she said, well, what do you think are the most challenging areas of your job? So I said, well, first of all, dealing with Senator Flanigan, which is a full-time, After that, I said, probably dealing with terrorism and the environment, because you don't really know the facts yet, and the facts change. On terrorism, almost nothing would surprise me on any given morning. And in the environment, it is evolving, and the challenges are evolving. And we don't really know what we're dealing with. Nobody knows what this climate change, extreme weather can bring. Nobody really understands what it means to put all those variables together. So it is an issue that we spend a lot of time on. It's a priority for the state. It's one we study. And it's one that we, in this budget, are investing a significant amount of resources. The main environmental fund for the state of New York is called the Environmental Protection Fund. And in our budget, we bring it to $300 million, which is the highest level in history for the funding of the EPF. We're also proposing $100 million in the Water Infrastructure Act, which is money to local governments to replace, renew their infrastructure, their water infrastructure especially. We will be out of the coal business by 2020, believe it or not. There will be no coal plant in the state of New York. We have a mandate, 50% of New York's energy must be from renewables by 2030, and we are developing many of those renewable markets here in New York, so we're combining economic development and environmental policy. Upstate New York, which has been struggling for many years, as you know, we've made significant gains in economic development by bringing in energy companies. Some of the largest solar panel manufacturers in the world are now in upstate New York. We're training people on solar panel manufacturing and installation. So we are combining economic opportunities in renewables with actually using the renewable technology here in New York. Long Island is especially sensitive when it comes to the environment, basically for geographic reasons. The sound on one side, the ocean on the other, the geology of the island itself and the way the aquifers actually run makes the island probably the most environmentally sensitive part of the state of New York. Just from a systems analysis. We have many beautiful parts of the state of New York that we seek to protect, but environmental challenges, just by geographic design, Long Island is probably the most sensitive. County Executive Balone has made water quality and water treatment a top priority, and that's why he's smiling in that picture, because he did a good thing and he knew it, and he was wearing his good tie, so he was happy in that picture. And he's also smiling because we've invested $383 million in the Suffolk Water System Program. Yes. Nassau County, we're investing $800 million to partner with the county in the improvement of wastewater treatment, and that's why Ed Mangano is smiling. And post-Superstorm Sandy, we have invested billions of dollars, literally, primarily from the federal government, in hardening our utility systems. We learned a lot of lessons. I can speak for the county executives as well as myself, dealing with storms and LIPA and hardening utilities so the island is better prepared to deal with extreme weather, which I am sure will recur. The hardening of the utility systems, as well as the hardening of our shorefront. We've made significant progress there. And part of our efforts actually is a $2 million commitment to launch the Stony Brook Center for Clean Water Technology, which will do exactly the research on the areas that we're talking about today, and we are very excited about that. It couldn't be at a better place, so let's have a round of applause for Stony Brook. And I want to thank Anna Throne-Holst, who's here with us today, for this idea and this initiative. So thank you very much, Anna. One of the main environmental issues which is emerging is the issue of the quality of the drinking water. And when I talked about the environment is changing and the challenges change and the facts change, That's probably nowhere more true than the evolution of what we know and what we think about the quality of our drinking water. The long-term effects of pollution all through the state, in many ways, is now making itself visible in ways that we never saw before. Now, maybe we didn't look for it before. We're testing for chemical compounds we didn't test for before. EPA is constantly reevaluating what the allowable concentration of chemicals in drinking water is or should be. And they'll make dramatic shifts in those federal guidelines, which then changes the entire outlook of a situation. And in some places, literally, the groundwater is changing. It will go through a piece of land that was polluted decades and decades ago, and it will pick up a chemical, which it wasn't in that groundwater before, and as it goes forward now, the quality and the integrity of the groundwater is changed. We also have an aging infrastructure. So the pipes themselves, the infrastructure itself, can actually have a negative effect on the water that we drink. On top of all of it, we have extreme weather conditions that in some cases can actually change the character of the aquifer or the flow of the groundwater. It can slow it, it can increase it. It can increase it to such an extent where the groundwater actually travels to an area that it didn't normally travel to, and starts to pick up chemicals that it didn't have before. So this is a kaleidoscope throughout the state and throughout the nation, frankly, of an ever-changing situation when it comes to groundwater. We're experiencing two situations now, one in the town of Orleans, upstate New York, where the groundwater has a very high level of salt in it. Because there was salt mining nearby and the aquifer picked that up. We're dealing with a situation in a town called Hoosick Falls, which had a plant that did manufacturing and left a residue of a chemical called PFOA. It was not a regulated chemical, so we didn't test for it for many, many years. EPA recently decided we should test for it. They set one limit that was the recommended limit, and we tested for that. They then changed the limit, actually multiplied it by 4. So there's been all sorts of variance, and there's now a real scare in Hoosick Falls about the quality of the water, and they're drinking bottled water, and we're doing a rapid-fire study of filtration and what's the appropriate remedy, looking for alternative water sources. But these are not isolated, and I don't expect them to be the last. I believe this is really the precursor of what we're going to see going forward. You have Flint, Michigan, which is somewhat of an unusual situation in the way it came to light, but there's nothing unusual about an older city having older infrastructure and lead pipes and the quality of water being demeaned by the infrastructure system itself. So even if you have a quality water source, by the time you run it through a municipal water system that may be aging, you may contaminate the water source just through that infrastructure itself. Right here on Long Island, we have several issues that are unique to Long Island and the sustainability of our water systems. And we'll go through them and address them. First, we have the Northrop Grumman plume, which Assemblyman Joseph Saladino has reminded us all of on a daily basis, least we should forget for just the shortest period of time. But he has really done a great job as an advocate for his community. Let's give him a round of applause. We have an issue in Suffolk County on the mulch facilities and the regulation of mulch facilities, and we have a big question of the integrity of the groundwater by saltwater intrusion, and we'll talk about them one at a time. because we have a specific plan for each one. First, on Northrop Grumman. As you know, Grumman manufactured military equipment for many years. It was a great employer for many years. It left a significant hole on Long Island from an economic point of view when they left. But we were a manufacturing state. Grumman was a manufacturing company. And when you manufacture, it was about building things and using chemicals and using substances to help in the manufacture, and we are now suffering from literally the stain of the manufacturing era. And the companies can close up and move away, but that doesn't mean that all the residue they left and put into the ground goes away. And frankly, when we were regulating these manufacturing companies at the time, no one was really studying the discharge and what it would mean down the road, or the half-life of the chemicals that were being released. So we're now dealing with the Northrop Grumman plume, which is about 1 mile by 3 miles, and it is traveling. And it is problematic. There is no doubt about that. Now, the Massapequa Water District and elected representatives, I mentioned Joe Saladino, Senator Charles Schumer, was also a great advocate for trying to determine the facts about what is in that plume. What are the chemicals in that plume, which can tell you two things. Number one, where it may have come from, where it emanated from, and number two, how dangerous it is, how you could treat it. Now, the federal government, which now controls most of the site through the Department of the Navy, was let's say it was reluctant. That's a good word. It's also the word that's on the slide, so it must be a good word. Reluctant to allow testing of the groundwater. Our position is the state of New York doesn't need the permission from the federal government, and that the state of New York has its own environmental jurisdiction, and we can do testing on our own. So that's what we're going to do. And we are going to commence independent testing by an expert independent lab, and basically they are testing for a specific chemical, dioxane, which they can, quote unquote, fingerprint to a particular type of manufacturing that may have been done by Grumman. This is state-of-the-art testing. It didn't exist just a few years ago. The Massapequa Water District wanted to make sure that it was done independently, so they were getting full and fair results. They were exactly right, and that's what we're going to do today, literally. We'll take the samples, we'll send it to the lab, the Massapequa Water District will be involved, and we will find out exactly what is in that plume, and information is power. Once we know what it is, we'll know what we're dealing with, and then we can have an intelligent plan for the remediation. I'd like to say, in situations like this, you want you want information before emotion. People tend to get nervous, they tend to get anxious, their mind starts to run away with them on possible variables, what if, what if, what if, what if. Let's get the information, and then we can make a decision. We'll have 6 monitoring wells, we'll test all 6, we'll continue the testing as we go. If we have to expand the testing, depending on what we find, we will do that. As soon as we have the results, we'll share the exact results with the water district and the public, just so everyone knows exactly what we have. Second, the mulch industry is a big industry on Long Island, and mulching has its benefits, there is no doubt. There's also no doubt that it has created unintended consequences. Suffolk County recently did testing under mulch facilities and found that some of the groundwater may have been tainted with higher levels of manganese, iron, and thallium. That would be a problem. The mulching industry also creates other issues. Apparently there's an odor from the mulching facilities, there's a dust, and the regulations have been, frankly, it's been an unregulated industry by and large up until now. Assemblyman Engelbrite brought this to our attention last year, and we are now going to announce regulations that will regulate the mulching industry which will protect nearby residents. We will also be testing the groundwater under the current mulching sites to make sure it's not tainting the groundwater. If we do find a situation where the groundwater was tainted, we will address it at that time, and we'll put in what they call monitoring wells, so you can come back periodically and check to make sure there's been no change. Third, there has been a question, an ongoing question, of saltwater intrusion into the groundwater, which would obviously have a negative consequences for the groundwater. There's also been a series of questions about possible chemical contamination, not just the Grumman plume, but other specific sites around the island, and are they causing environmental damage? Rather than do this piecemeal and address individual situations, what we propose is to do an island-wide top-shelf study of the groundwater, of the aquifer. Let's find out what's going on. Let's find out if there is saltwater intrusion, where it's coming from. If there is chemical contamination, where is it coming from? We'll do it in concert with the U.S. Geological Society, County of Nassau, County of Suffolk, Stony Brook, everybody on the same page. The best, most extensive study ever done to make sure we know what's going on with the groundwater, and that the state will fund the cost. It's estimated to be $6 million, but it is well worth it. The aquifer on Long Island is a priceless asset, and we want to protect it. And part of protecting it is understanding what's going on with it and understanding what's going on with it right now. So that will be taking place, and we will start that forthwith. We'll get the partners together. We'll talk about a format for the study, and we will go forward. Again, these drinking water quality issues are not just on Long Island. They tend to be more sensitive on Long Island, but they are statewide and they are nationwide. I remember as a relative youngster, I went to Israel and I met with Shimon Peres, who is one of the great minds, I believe, on the globe. And I was in 30-something, so it was a long, long time ago. And I said to him, so what is going to be the problem of the future? He said to me, the problem of the future will be water. I said, water? He says, yes, fresh water. And I thought there was some metaphor that I was missing. I was at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I was at HUD, Secretary of HUD. And we had questions about lead in the water because we had a lot of old housing in old cities, a lot of lead pipes. And I went to NIH and talked to the head scientist at NIH. And he said to me, this is going to be the issue of the future. Clean water, water without chemicals. And it's going to be very, very hard to find because so much of the ground has been used and tainted. And so much of the infrastructure is going to be old. And the infrastructure that we put in, we didn't anticipate the degradation of that infrastructure and what it might do. So this is an issue that we want to get ahead of. Rather than always responding to individual circumstances, we want to know what we're dealing with and be proactive. We're putting a statewide water quality response team together. We believe it's going to be the first in the country. And we want to have the best state program in the nation to preserve water quality and spot problems before they come. That team is going to coordinate rapid responses to emergencies like at Hoosick Falls, et cetera. We'll have the best regulations to protect clean water. We'll understand what contaminants are being released and regulating them before they pose a problem. And they'll be coming up with a comprehensive master plan. The task force will be co-chaired by the Department of Health, Commissioner Zucker, who's here, and the DEC Acting Commissioner Basil Sagos, who's here, because they require, Hoosick Falls, for example, Department of Health is testing everybody's blood, testing the water system to see if there's PFOA, then testing people's blood to see if there's PFOA in their system. And then DEC is working on the filtration side and water supply side. So they really work hand in glove. We'll also have the Secretary of State and a host of relevant individuals, including Sabrina Tai, who's here today from the Environmental Facilities Corporation. So, in summary, one, the Grumman plume, I feel very good about that. When the federal government said you can't test, made everybody suspicious, understandably. People felt that the federal government was hiding something that continued to raise anxieties. So the state will assert jurisdiction, and we will go forward. If the federal government doesn't believe we have jurisdiction, I'm sure they'll let us know about it. If they get hostile, I'm going to blame Senator Flanigan. If somebody has to go to federal prison, John, it's not going to be me. Conduct additional testing and propose the first ever for the mulch facilities, comprehensive groundwater study, and establish a statewide water quality response team. I want to thank my colleagues in the legislature for working this through. Many of them have worked on it for many years. I especially want to thank Senator Flanigan for his help and his team's help. These issues were very much Long Island issues and specific to Long Island, and many of them involved his district, so his team was really top shelf in putting this together. And with that, I will turn it over to my friend and colleague, Senator John Flanigan. Senator.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. And Governor, I have a few thoughts that are tied to what we're talking about, which is going to make Ken LaValle smile. Now, you're going to have to do this, and I have a whole audience, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Today is my mother's birthday. Oh. All right? And you just talked about me going to federal prison. What is that all about, okay? I'm going to give you her phone number, and you're going to call her and wish her a happy birthday.
All right.
All right?
My pleasure. That's my pleasure.
So welcome to Stony Brook. Thank you to Stony Brook University for their hospitality. I also see the president of Suffolk Community College here, Dr. McKay, a great ally in public higher education. So I was thinking about coming over here today, and I want to dovetail on a couple of things that the governor talked about. A lot of you probably can't see this, but I have on what would be described at a minimum as an antiquated tie. This is one of my dad's old ties. This is almost 50 years old. And I'm not wearing this for political purposes, but it is basically elephants that are on the tie. So arguably it's a GOP tie, but there is not one natural fiber in this tie. So if somebody puts a match near me, I could actually blow up. But I was thinking about, my father had served in the legislature from 1972 to 1986, and in line with what you said about Shimon Peres and others, I don't know why I remember this, but I do remember this. My father talked about water, and he talked about the United States of America, but he also talked about the Northeast, in our country in particular, and New York and Long Island, that, and this is 40, 50 years ago, that water was going to be an incredibly significant issue. And we're blessed. We're blessed, because here on Long Island, throughout the state of New York, when you have those taste tests, a lot of times we win. We have great water. And I think one thing that is really in line with what we're talking about that gets overlooked is when I look at all the bills that I pay, and I'm no different than anybody else, property taxes, PSC&G, National Grid, whatever it may be, the cheapest thing that I pay for is water, which is an incredible blessing. The availability, and it's like that. I get my water through Suffolk County Water Authority. There's a lot of other local water districts, but I know how lucky we are and how blessed we are, and the governor knows this quite well, representing the entire state. In the city of New York, there are growing issues about the cost of water and the quality as well. So that's something that we need to be mindful of. But I want to just speak to a couple of different issues. The governor did an excellent job, as always, outlining what's important and, frankly, why we're here. There are two gentlemen that I want to highlight who are sitting in the audience, and both of them are colleagues of mine in the Senate. Senator Marcelino chaired the Environmental Conservation Committee for approximately 15 years, I believe. And he was outstanding in his capacity as chair of that committee. Not an easy committee. Not an easy committee to chair. But he did yeoman-like work in so many different areas, including things like brownfields, working with this administration and prior administrations, and being a leader to address some of the issues that the governor has spoken to quite directly. So I want to thank him for his continued leadership, not only in the work that he did, but in being a staunch advocate for the increases in the EPF, and the governor deserves major props for going to $300 million. I'm pretty sure we're not going to have an argument within the legislature as to whether or not we agree on that. Everyone, yep. And the other gentleman is the senior member of our delegation in our conference, and that's Ken Laval. And we are at Stony Brook University, which happens to be in the 2nd Senate District, but in this respect, everybody gets a twofer. You get Ken Laval as chair of higher ed, and you get me as a local representative, of course, along with Assemblyman Engelbrite. Ken has been an incredible supporter of the university, not only in terms of everything going on, but the research in particular. And he has always reminded me, aptly so, first district first. Care about your own district first, be parochial, protect the interests of the people that you represent. And he has, in many respects, as many of you know, a district that is more like many of our upstate colleagues' districts than it is, say, some of our colleagues in Nassau County. So when I think of the work that Ken Laval has done, I think of things like the Pine Barrens, right? Think of all the time, energy, and effort that went into issues like that. I see a lot of smiling faces who have worked on those, and Ken has been a vanguard and a protector, and frankly, he was well involved before a lot of different people. So we are very fortunate, and I'll come to my other colleague in the Assembly fairly quickly, but we are actually very fortunate to have competent, quality, talented people who have been invested in these issues for quite some time. So what I want to just touch on is, said stuff about the EPF, but the governor has taken a strong leadership role. And there's a lot of discussion, but one of the things that he drives us crazy periodically doing this, but there are occasions where it has a true upside. When you see that there's a real problem, you don't wait. You act. And I believe, I'm not as familiar with the town of Orleans, but I know in Hoosick Falls, Senator Marchione, who's our colleague up in the Saratoga area, has met with the governor and administration officials, and there's a lot of talk about who may be to blame for things. Reality is, he doesn't care, I don't care. What we really care about is how do we protect the people in those communities? How do we make sure that bottled water is something that's fanciful, that you can buy on a whim, not that you have to do as, you know, the way to sustain your life every day? So I give the governor strong credit for that, and I think we will find resolution on that. The governor mentioned $6 million in the budget, so at least I know that's going to be part of the final budget. I don't know what else is going to be in the rest of the budget, but that's certainly going to be in there. So we are partners. We are partners with our colleagues in local government, and it's kind of ironic to describe Nassau and Suffolk County as local government. They are huge entities, and we need to work with them on a lot of different things. I pledge on behalf of our conference and my colleagues who are here to work in a very concerted, bipartisan, diplomatic way to get these things done. And this is real life. When you get right to it, I'm looking at people. I see Lee, who works with the university, the head of nursing. Imagine if you had a hospital and you had no water. What the heck would you do? Those are things that we really need to think about. So having said that, let me take the luxury and the privilege of introducing my colleague who has been, oh my goodness, he has been more involved in the environment than most people collectively in their careers for a very long period of time. Geologist by trade and profession, obviously has been an employee of the State University for many years, someone who I'm gratified to call a friend and a colleague. And I was thinking about Steve Engelbrite. He's the kind of guy, like, remember when you would go to class in college? Some people could get to class in 2 minutes. Some people would take like 45 minutes. They would miss class. They would be late. That's Engelbrite, right? He'd be walking through the Ashley Schiff Preserve, be looking at the flora and the fauna and telling people the lineage of all this and giving the history, but he cares. So that's why we have a good balance between the Senate and the Assembly, And without any further ado, let me introduce a gentleman who has been an environmentalist for a very, very long period of time. That is Assemblyman Steve Engelbrite.
Thank you, John, and thank you for the very generous introduction. I just want to reflect on your father's tie, because in a very real sense, when we're dealing with issues like water, we really are dealing with intergenerational issues. So I think the metaphor of reflecting on your father is something that I want to make a comment on, because I'm wearing my father's tie today. And I had the privilege of working with your father, Governor, and it was on water issues. And so we stand on the shoulders of these great men in our lives who help give us our values and point the way. And to a very large extent, the way that they have pointed us toward is what Governor Cuomo is continuing here today. There is no more serious issue on Long Island or throughout the state than the chemistry of our water, its potability, our ability to reliably get up in the morning and make breakfast, make a formula for our children, and know that what we're doing is healthful. Governor, I think you're on the right track, and I think that you are acting in anticipation with this strike force of the inevitability that in a state as large and as complicated, with as many historic sites that were contaminated, that we really do need to have a preemptive mechanism in place and ready to go. And we need to have as much information as possible. So you are right, and you are also right to point us in those directions. I look forward to working with you as the chair of the Committee on Environmental Conservation, working with your commissioner, and with my colleagues in the Senate. Ken Laval, of course, was there when I was just an advocate. You were already a partner, working with us to protect the Pine Barrens and to protect the drinking water, and to work with Mario Cuomo. So I thank you for taking this initiative. You're getting out in front of this issue, Governor, and I think working with the United States Geological Survey to take an updated and comprehensive look at our water system in coastal New York is exactly the right direction to go in. It gives us the information, and information gives us the ability to make wise policy. So this is an aggressive and comprehensive plan, and I want to commend you, Governor, for leading us in the direction of a healthful and predictably quality of life aspects of our living in New York and being citizens of this great state. I look forward to working with everybody. I also want to turn the floor over at this point to our Suffolk County Executive, Steve Balone, who has made drinking water and water chemistry issues the hallmark of his administration. Steve Balone.
Thank you. Thank you, Assemblyman Engelbrite. And I wanted to point out that I am wearing my grandfather's tie today. Actually, my father was a cop and a corrections officer. I don't remember seeing him in a tie. But I did get this on sale at Macy's. So I am honored to be here today with the governor, all of my colleagues, and certainly Assemblyman Engelbrite. And he has been one of the great environmental leaders that I have known in our state. And I thank him, and certainly Senator Flanigan, our majority leader. Happy to be here in your district. No offense to my good friend, Senator Laval, of course, being here at Stony Brook University, but we're very proud of the fact that the Senate Majority Leader is from Suffolk County, and that's a great thing for our county. But I want to give a big thank you to Governor Cuomo. You know, water quality has been in the news. It's been a subject that's been talked about of late across the country. But this is not the first time the governor's been here on Long Island talking about water quality. The entire time I've been in office, we've been talking about this issue. I've been here with him on major announcements on water quality here in Suffolk County, on the Long Island region. And this is an issue that he has taken a lead on from the time that he's been in office. And I'm very grateful for that, because I've said here that this is the most important issue for us in Suffolk County. This is the top priority of my administration. And there are a lot of great leaders out here that have been working on this issue for a long time. Senator, thank you that you pointed out Suffolk Community College and the work that they're doing, Stony Brook University, and I think Anna Thorne-Holes took a real lead in creating that center here with the governor. But a lot of great people have been working on this issue, and there's nothing more important for us on Long Island. Suffolk County it's the largest county in the state. I like to brag a little bit. 1.5 million people, but it's probably one of the most diverse counties in the state of New York. We have, typical suburban areas. I'm from Babylon, but then you go further out east, and it's one of the largest agricultural counties in the state of New York. It is the easily most diverse agricultural county in the state of New York, world-class fishing, tourism industry. All of it, our quality of life, our heritage, all of it is underpinned by water quality, all of it. And so this issue is the most important thing that we grapple with and talk about and deal with on a daily basis. And Governor, I can't thank you enough for the partnership and for the leadership that you have demonstrated on this issue, along with my colleagues in the legislature. And that partnership is vitally important, because the only way that we are ultimately going to make sure that we are fulfilling our responsibility to future generations is by all of us working together at the federal, state, and local level. And particularly, Governor, I want to thank you for the mulch regulations that you talked about in announcing here today. As Senator Flanigan pointed out, a lot of those flags are in Suffolk County on those mulch facilities. So that is going to make a huge difference for us here in the county. But again, my thanks to you, Governor, for your leadership, and to my colleagues for their work and their leadership on this issue. And everyone out here, there's so many people who have been working on this issue for years, and I thank you for that. And with that, I want to turn it over to my good friend and partner, and I too am glad we are not out in the snow today, dealing with another extreme weather event. But we've worked together on a lot of different issues. In fact, we're going to be working together again today on the heroin issue. That is my good friend, Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Well, first, thanks. First, I feel bad because my tie came from the Marshall's clearance rack, where my wife likes to shop for me. But it's great to join with you. Certainly join with the governor here, in taking this bold, comprehensive, well-funded step to protect our drinking water. And I also want to commend our Majority Leader, John Flanigan, for his support and partnership in this. If I can, I just want to personalize this a little bit, because I grew up in Bethpage, and in fact, I would have never been involved in government or politics but for this plume, because as a civic leader, I started advocating for a cleanup here. And I just want to comment and recognize Senator Carl Marcellino, who, as a citizen, I reached out to at that time, and we fought to have a comprehensive cleanup. And listen, over the years, many things have been tried, and most have not worked to stop the migration of this plume. The plume is there simply, as the governor pointed out, during wartime, the defense industry heat-treated metal. Basically, they dipped the airplane in a big bath of carcinogens, solvents, to heat protect it, and then they dumped them in what was a pool or a lake, and that made its way down to our aquifer, where just down the block the Bethpage Water District would pump up that water for drinking water. And that is the real concern. And over the years, when Carl was involved there, we got a pump and treat system, basically tried to stop the plume from moving off the property by pumping it and then treating it by running that water up through what they call stripping towers into carbon filters, falls back down, it's supposed to have been clean. That really didn't work. There was modeling done, and it still did not work. There was 60 tons of soil that were removed and burned and trailered away, and obviously that didn't work. And then as technology evolved, we found more and more issues, the soil vapor issues that have escaped into homes. We fought for, and now working with Assemblyman Saladino and certainly our senators and our governor, we fought to understand if there's a correlation between that and cancer. And all these studies have come out that there's no correlation. But I tell you, if you live there and you worked on the property and you look at the instances of cancer, it's alarming. It's concerning. So I hope that the governor's study here may shed some light on that. I could just humanize it. My brother, 36 years old, got a very rare cancer that you would not get at 36 years old and was given a year to live, and thank God he continues to fight that to this day. The dog at the firehouse that's on the property, Flanigan, died of cancer. And, people along the number streets and in those areas, had what we would have considered, if you lived there, a higher rate of cancer. And that's the concern. That's the humanizing concern. As far as protecting our water supply, what the governor is doing here is the best thing that can be done. And I want to thank our Bethpage Water District, because what they do, and now the Massapequa Water District will be engaged in the same analyses that had to happen in Bethpage, is you had to close water wells, because it's the water well where you pump is in the line of where the plume is coming. You can no longer use that water well. In Bethpage, we had to shut down 2 water wells and build new ones outside of the plume. So the good news is there's extensive modeling. The best news is today that Governor Cuomo, Senator Flanigan, our local senators and assembly person here are putting the money into getting that data that is necessary to confirm any correlations that could threaten the public health and threaten other water districts that are in line, because this plume simply is traveling to the Atlantic Ocean. That's where it seeks. That's where our aquifer seeks, and that's continuing. Whether it's been slowed, I guess experts can argue, did these pump and treat systems slow it down? Did these stripping towers, remove enough carcinogens and enough heavy metals to help protect the water supply? But the bottom line here today is I thank Governor Cuomo, and again, Senator Flanigan, all those, Senator Marcellino, Senator Saladino, those have really been working on this. And I have to tell you, I started on this in the late 80s. In the late 80s as a civic person. That's when this was really discovered and came concerning. Big question is, can you grow the tomatoes in your backyard? Can you eat them? And to that date, all of the health information came back as all that is safe and the water district protects us. But what you're doing here today, Governor, personally, governmentally, and through my colleagues, we thank you.
Well, well said, County Executive Ed Mangano. You get up in the morning, you think you're prepared for the day, and then someone brings up family relations and ties. Who would have ever figured? I'm wearing a tie. And my tie also has a family relation. It's not my father, but it is literally my brother-in-law's tie, because my brother-in-law is Kenneth Cole, who is a tie manufacturer, you see. And I am so lucky that I am wearing his tie today. Otherwise, I would be in really big trouble when I went home. Because my family takes those things seriously.
You wearing the shoes?
Shop Kenneth Cole. This guy I got on a special family discount plan. Let me say this. This was a lot of work by many, many people who worked very hard for a number of weeks to put this plan together. And again, it was done with all my colleagues here, and I want to make sure everybody understands that it was a group effort. But I think everyone said it very well. And Senator Flanigan's right. I can be a pain in the neck in insisting that government be aggressive and we try to get ahead of the issues. I like to say denial is not a life strategy. We know this is an issue coming down the pike. And yes, we could sit back and wait for it to develop, but that would not be responsible, and it would be the best way to handle it. So let's get ahead of it. Let's lead. They elect us to lead. We're going to lead. We're the state of New York. The other states expect us to lead. This is going to be a national problem that is unfolding for years. The state that gets ahead of this, number one, will preserve its economic asset, because your economic asset, the island's economic asset, is the beautiful environment of the island. It's the beaches, it's the water. That's what you have. That's your essential asset. And number two, you could potentially save lives this way. I believe the more we learn and the more studies they do, what County Executive Mangano was talking about is going to turn out to be true. I don't believe it's going to be coincidental that you had high levels of contaminants and then illnesses and cancers. I believe there's going to wind up being a connection between the chemicals we put in our food and the pesticides we put in our food, and we're putting more and more chemicals into our body in combinations that nobody anticipated. We have chemicals in water that nobody ever tested for, and this is going to be one of the real challenges that unfolds. And information is power, and if we do this right, we could literally save lives. I believe that. And we are getting ahead of it. And we are being aggressive about it, but that's exactly the right MO on a situation like this. You know, this is every time your child drinks a glass of water, right? That's what this is about. Making sure what we're giving our families, what the island sustains Long Island is healthy and is pure, and we know the facts, and that we're taking any remedial action that has to be taken. So I thank my colleagues very much. I thank the professionals, the commissioners, et cetera, who worked on this presentation. A lot to do, but we are on the right track, and we're going to get there, and we're going to get there the way we always get there, by working together. Thank you very much for taking the time to come out.